Apple's iPhone 14 Pro is said to be the phone that could shake up the iPhone range by potentially bringing in a notably different design from the iPhone 13 Pro. So far, the rumors have hinted at everything from the death of the notch to the return of Touch ID. This is probably well overdue. As good as the iPhone 13 Pro is, it's arguably not a definitive upgrade over its predecessor, and overall the iPhone hasn't taken a huge leap forward since the iPhone 11 Pro. iPhone 14 Pro design. Tipster John Prosser has showcased a suite of renders supposedly based on leaked information which reveal possible big changes for the iPhone 14 Pro. Prosser's renders show a trio of cameras flush with the iPhone 14 Pro's back, but if that sounds nice, you might be disappointed by some rival that show the iPhone 14 Pro models looking a lot like their iPhone 13 counterparts. The raised camera array is back and even bigger on the iPhone 14 Pro. The new phones are also rumored to be 0.2mm thicker than the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Other reports also have the rear camera module tipped to get bigger. The reason for this, according to reliable Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, is that a larger module is needed to house a 48-megapixel camera. As a result, another leak claims the corners of the iPhone 14 Pro will be getting rounder to better match the curved corners of the new module. Perhaps the most notable rumored design changes for the iPhone 14 Pro is the removal of the now infamous display notch. Display analyst Ross Young expects Apple to offer a pill-shaped cutout for Face ID along with a punch hole, so there would be two cutouts. This design is now seemingly locked in according to rumors from Everything Apple Pro. This rumor are given more credence with what appears to be a leaked supply chain photo showing off the display panels for all four iPhone 14 models. Our best look at what all the design changes add up to can be seen in some iPhone 14 mockups posted by Alibaba and shared by Mako Takara. In the case of the iPhone 14 models, you not only see the two cutouts on the front display but the larger camera module. Takara reports that iPhone 13 Pro cases won't fit the iPhone 14 Pro because of that bigger module. Speaking of cases, a claimed case leak shows four iPhone 14 models: the standard iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Plus or Max, iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max. Not only is an iPhone 14 mini conspicuously absent, but it also shows how the iPhone 14 Pro will be basically the same size as the standard iPhone 14, which we'd expect given it's the same story for the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro. But the iPhone 14 Pro Max will be joined by a larger Apple smartphone in the form of the iPhone 14 Plus or Max. Aside from that, the rears of all four phones look set to be similar to their predecessors, with the Pro mode sporting a trio of rear cameras and the standard phones sticking with two snappers. And a fresh set of iPhone 14 Pro renders based on schematics really do a good job at showing off what the evolved design could look like in metal and glass. They don't reveal the surprise design quirks, but rather give us a good impression of how the pill and punch hole camera Face ID cutout will look like, surprisingly decent as it happens. There were some early rumors that Touch ID could make a return in the form of an under-display fingerprint scanner. However, the jury is still out on how likely this is. Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo reckons that there won't be an iPhone with Touch ID or under-display Face ID for another few years. This would have been pretty disappointing, as during these mass acquiring times, having an alternative to Face ID is very handy. But with iOS 15.4, Apple has made it so that Face ID can recognize a legitimate user even when they are wearing a mask. It works remarkably well, meaning Apple may have bypassed the need for fingerprint-centric biometrics. We have only had one leak address the color options for the iPhone 14 Pro. A Chinese leaker claimed that alongside the familiar graphite silver and gold Pro iPhone colors, the new option for this year would be a dark purple. You can see that below in another set of renders, this one coming from artist Sota. In May, Mac Rumors summarized the status of iPhone 14 color rumors thus far, with the addition of the purple option the most radical changes. Otherwise, the report has the black, white, blue, and red options that make up the current iPhone 13 and 13 sections. The pink and green colors would be dropped this time around. As for the iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max, the new purple hue would join silver, gold, and graphite as the reported color options. Both the Sierra Blue color available since the iPhone 13 Pro's launch and the Alpine Green version introduced in the spring would be dropped from the lineup. iPhone 14 Pro USB-C. There are rumors that suggest Apple would finally go the USB-C port route with the iPhone 14 Pro, and that would make sense as many of its devices already have USB-C connectivity. However, more recent rumors claim that Apple will stick with Lightning over USB-C but switch to updated Lightning ports with faster USB 3.0 data transfer. That comes as the EU moves closer to making USB-C the standard charger for portable devices like the phones. For some people, USB-C on the iPhone 14 Pro would be a must-have feature. In fact, the Lightning connector is arguably the worst thing about the iPhone, as it can wear over the time. This can make it very difficult to charge your phone. Unfortunately, Apple is unlikely to abandon Lightning unless it has to, given how established the standard and its ecosystem of accessories already is. Meanwhile, Ming-Chi Kuo predicts that Apple will switch the iPhone to USB-C but not until late 2023. If he is correct, and a new report in Bloomerang suggests that he is, it means we won't be seeing an official USB-C iPhone until the iPhone 15 arrives. iPhone 14 Pro display. One of the biggest upgrades of the iPhone 13 Pro delivered was a 120Hz dynamic refresh rate display. Thanks to the use of an LTPO panel, the screen could go from 120Hz to as little as 10Hz when a fast refresh rate was needed, and thus that helps save on battery life. According to some rumors, the iPhone 14 Pro could build upon this and scale down to as little as 1 Hz, reducing the power drain of a display, and this could enable the reported use of an always-on display. Long rumored to be an upcoming feature for next-gen iPhones, Bloomerang's Mark Gurman has claimed the iPhone 14 Pro will finally get an always-on display, and it will be used to show weather, calendars, stocks, activities, and other data on the lock screen. With the a low refresh rate helping preserves the battery life. The revamped iOS 16 lock screen previewed by Apple in June seems to set the stage for this feature. In contrast, the standard iPhone 14 models are now tipped to get a 90Hz display, which would be an upgrade over the 60Hz of the iPhone 13, but not quite up there with the Pro phones. As for screen sizes, according to Ross Young, the iPhone 14 Pro could increase in size from 6.06 inches to 6.12 inches, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max from 6.68 to 6.69 inches. This will apparently be because of rumored similar bezels and new notch design. iPhone 14 Pro specs and battery life. Following on from the A15 Bionic, we'd expect to see an A16 Bionic chip in the iPhone 14 Pro series with improved performance across the board according to alleged benchmarks. However, a suite of rumors thus far have the iPhone 14 tipped to stick with the A15 Bionic chip, which would create a disparity between the model's core specs. This would be a first for Apple, as it has always equipped new iPhones with upgraded silicon. Ming-Chi Kuo has thrown his weight behind this chip rumor, adding that Apple plans to ship more iPhone 14 Pro models than standard iPhone 14s. The latest A16 processor will be exclusive to two iPhone 14 Pro or high-end models, significantly boosting the shipment proportion of new iPhone high-end models in 2022 to 55 to 60%. The iPhone 14 is likely to offer a distinct hike in processor, graphics, and neural processing performance over the A15 Bionic. How much that will be noticeable to the average user might not be so closer. Storage is likely to go up to 1 TB, but there have been no solid storage rumors for the iPhone 14 Pro yet. A source from Weibo claiming to know the battery capacity of the iPhone 14 family shows that all models except the iPhone 14 Pro Max will be getting a slight increase in size. The iPhone 14 Max is in fact shrinking a little, but hopefully not enough to impact the phone's overall battery life. We'd be confident that the iPhone 14 Pro will match or exceed the 11 hours and 42 minutes the iPhone 13 Pro did in our battery test, which forces the phone to endlessly reload web pages on a cellular connection until it dies. The iPhone 13 Pro Max managed a lengthy 12 hours and 16 minutes, so we'd expect the iPhone 14 Pro Max do the same as better as Apple boost chip and phone efficiency. As for 5G, we are expecting the iPhone 14 Pro to use a new smaller 5G modem chip. The smaller size should mean it takes less more to run, and that there could be extra room for the battery to expand into. That would mean the already impressive battery life of the iPhone 13 can be improved upon even more. Sadly, it's looking like the iPhone 14 Pro might miss out the advancements made by Qualcomm's new 5G chip, the Snapdragon X70. The chip will include a 5G AI processor, the first of its kind, which should allow the modem system to use artificial intelligence to optimize a phone's antenna and better manage 5G beams going to and from a 5G phone. Qualcomm figures that will be particularly useful for mmWave-based 5G networks in places like stadiums and arenas, though AI can also help manage sub 6 Hz 5G signals as well. In addition to its cellular and Wi-Fi connectivity, the iPhone 14 could also gain the ability to connect to satellite networks. That's feature that first emerged in the build up to last year's iPhone 13 launch, while the capability didn't arrive in time for those phones. Reliable tipster says emergency satellite communications are a possibility for the iPhone 14 models. The idea is that when you are in an area without good cellular or Wi-Fi connectivity, you can send text messages to emergency services over satellite networks, alerting them to your location.